Have the introduction. Next 35 minutes or so, we want to share some of our work. Let's get to the subject of our talk, because when we got invited to Sao Paulo to speak here, the first thing obviously thought about what is interesting to talk about, and we chose actually for something very simple. We wanted to share our experiences dating back to 1996 when we first started, and as I said, we'll tell you a little bit more about what we've experienced, the mistakes we made, but also probably some of the nice stuff we experienced. Richard here will tell you a little bit more about KKOutlet, which is our London office, and you can describe that best as Kessels Kramer 2.0, the new and improved version. But above all, we want to show you that mixing disciplines in the communication field can actually pay off. And that's actually the main message for you today. You're students and you want to move into this to this world, and what you will find out very soon is that you will be forced to make decisions. You want to work for an ad agency or a PR, and somehow our industry does that. We like to box and label people, and we want to use people in a singular way. Ad agencies make advertising, design agencies create new logos, and Marco here, PR agencies have lunch. I think that's kind of the way the industry is structured. If one is good in one thing, for sure he can't be good in something else. And we dare to differ, and we would like to show that by demonstrating it with some work. But before we get there, I think it's quite important also to see how one works, because it requires also a different way of organizing yourself and working. In the past, when we were asked what a working formula was, we actually could not answer that question, and until our strategy director came up with this wonderful sheet on how to approach a problem. And it sounds very simple, putting solutions or big ideas at the heart of what you do, and not, let's say, TV or billboards or print. But this is actually something we keep working by with until this day. But next to this, I think it's also very important to organize yourself in a way which kind of helps to mix these disciplines. And if you look at our industry again, in a broad perspective, this is basically the way we are all organized. But what we tend to do as an industry is to keep away the people with the ideas away from the client by putting a layer in. And I think that's something which, for us at least, does not work. So we created this model where we put the people with the idea across the client, and there's a more direct contact, and that actually seems to work for us at least. Before moving on to some examples, Rich here is going to tell you a little bit more about Kessels Kramer London. So I give the word to you.
Oh, hello. Well, over the last year, I've been trying to explain to people what Kessels Kramer London is, and how this kind of hybrid environment manifests itself in terms of an office. And it's not easy to explain, because it's quite hard to categorise, and deliberately so, I think. But we did ask some people around the area what they thought of it, and this is what they said.
What is KKOutlet?
I'm assuming it's some sort of... Oh, I don't know actually. I thought it was food, but it's got maybe it's like a gallery or something.
I have no idea, seriously. It looks like a shop when you can buy kind of like a coffee and naughty coffee or something.
I don't know, a reprographic shop or a bookshop maybe.
You do book binding and maybe cufflinks.
Books and art, possibly records.
Okay, anything connected with probably photography, or probably connected to... no, it's not art. I'm not sure actually. I'm passing this place every day, but I never realized what you were really doing, so...
So this desire to cross over into different disciplines leaves us with a physical space that's at its best eclectic, and at its very best unsettling. But to the people that work at KKOutlet, it is just that. It's an outlet, a creative outlet, if you like. And it's a creative outlet not just for people who work at Kessels Kramer, but also an outlet for things that we like, that wouldn't normally have an outlet, and perhaps shouldn't really have an outlet, like this poster, that we haven't been able to sell any of this. We can't even give them away. And in fact, if you write to me nicely, I might give you one. So we're a shop, so we're an outlet for Kessels Kramer publishing, but also for products and books that are selected by the staff who work there that they find interesting and inspiring. My dad always said you judge a person on the company he keeps, and I always used to say you judge a person on his record collection. But I think this section in the shop here tells you a bit about us. These are books that the people that work at KKOutlet find inspiring, and they could be anything from children's books that have left a lasting impression on them to art books, really. But they all leave a little note on the book explaining why they like it and why they find it inspiring. And I think that other people find that inspiring, and it tells a bit about us as well. So we're also a gallery. So we provide a space and invite people who we find inspiring to show their work. And these can be artists. And they can also be people who we consider to be artists, and other people perhaps wouldn't. Like this is an example of a website that we liked called Passive Aggressive Notes. And it was just kicking around and people were sending this blog around. And it's basically a girl who collected all the notes that people left for her in her house share when she was a student, asking her to do the washing up and tidy the place up a bit. And she started a blog where she put these notes on. And then other people started sending their notes in as well. And she amassed this quite impressive collection of original passive-aggressive notes. And we liked it so much that we wrote to her and asked her if she wanted to do an exhibition of these notes, of all the original notes. And she said yes, and we had a great exhibition. So that's an example of things that wouldn't normally be considered art. This is another thing that wouldn't normally be considered art, but I think is quite wonderful. It's a guy who takes photographs of funny-shaped vegetables and fruit, which I find quite inspiring in my own little way. These were a selection of images that Eric Kessels did for a book called Useful Photography, and this was shows how the gallery works as a place to do book launches as well for our bookshop. And he just took the first sequence of porn sites, but it was the very first photograph in the sequence. So it kind of told this strange story that you couldn't really work out what it was, and some of these images were quite surreal, but kind of beautiful as well at the same time. And this is another guy called Herman Smits who just finds everyday things that he turns into art. I couldn't really work it out either, but it was good. So we also make advertising campaigns, because that is what we do. We are an advertising agency. But we just try and investigate and explore and push what an advertising agency can be, and hopefully knock down some walls at the same time. And this is a TV ad that we've just made for Morgan Spiced.